only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the Cosmic Oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be, and beyond. The readings and advice given by Barbara Jean Lindsey are for entertainment purposes only, should not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by a qualified professional, and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expanded, call the Cosmic Oracle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show. It is May. Oh, no, it's June 1st now. Okay, hello, everyone. It's June 1st, 2018 on Friday. I'm coming to you live from the new place in Contact in the Desert and Indian Wells at the Renaissance Hotel. And what an upgrade. It is so amazingly beautiful here. So it's been quite a wild day. I heard Michael Tellinger talk this morning. And hung out with a whole bunch of old friends and did a Cosmic Cafe, and we had quite a few people come and tell their amazing stories. And so this is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and I have with me today a co-host, and I'd like to welcome Linda Kluke onto the show. Tell them how we met last year at Contact in the Desert, Linda.
Well, I think like attracts like. And since we're both contactees and UFO enthusiasts and lovers of the world and the earth and humankind, we just kind of gyrated and made our connection there. And I met her at the Cosmic Cafe where she hosts informal group interactive therapy session, so to speak.
True. So we just finished one, and but I'm really excited today because we have Kelly and Kewaunee, Kelly and Kewaunee Lapseritis on the show this evening, and they will be talking about so many things they've been getting into since last time we had them on the show. They will be talking about their psychic Sasquatch spiritual retreat coming up on August 31st. So we want to hear all about that. And I understand they have a new book coming out as well. Their first book, The Sasquatch Message to Humanity. And the second book, The Sasquatch Message to Humanity, channeled a message by Sunbow. And they have a third one coming out as well. And so I'm really looking forward. Excuse me. I think you'll really love what Kelly and her husband Kewaunee have to say about all the things that are going on Sasquatch. So they are world authorities now, from what I understand. We'll talk about that and what is happening in Sasquatch land and what's going on there and what we can expect in the future in our relationship with Sasquatch, and some of the scientific data too that can maybe help us with qualifying what is a Sasquatch. So I look forward to that. Before we have them join the show, I do want to thank you, the listeners to freedomslips.com Revolution Radio, for being so generous. We have a new day, the first day, and we've made $417, and we need $2,600 to make it through the month. So please, if you could continue to give generously, we make it really easy for you. Just go to freedomslips.com, push that donate button, and donate. It's really simple, easy. They accept PayPal and Bitcoins, I hear, too. So if you're into that, so just give generously so to keep us on the air and keep the truth out there. No one gets paid a dime for doing this work, so we have the freedom to say and talk about what we think is important and on the pulse of the planet. So, hey, I haven't had enough coffee, but I am talking like I've had a lot of coffee. I think because I'm just kind of amped up here in this beautiful space with what Linda,
a lot
you
of
said
energy.
5,000 people now instead of 4,000. What were they expecting? 2,000 or something?
2,000 was the count as of Thursday, and then it jumped to 5,000.
5,000 people. So all of the rooms are sold out, right?
Oh, yeah, they were sold out in February.
So you get to come to contact in the desert vicariously through the show today. So welcome, everyone. I'm going to give Kelly a call right now. I saw her light on green for a minute, so I hope that she is still there, and we're going to add her to the call right now. So hopefully she will be answering the phone and coming online. Let's see, where are you, Kelly? I just got a note from her, so let's see what she says. Okay.
Hi.
Yes, you're here. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yay. We went through this how many times yesterday, right? Getting everything
Right.
So welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show. I'm so glad you're here. And also your husband, Kewaunee, is also present for the show, correct?
Yes, I'm right here.
There you are. Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll have to check in. I don't know how long it's been since last time you were on the show. Has it been about a year?
I can't really recall.
We've been on so many, two or three a month.
Pretty often.
Yeah, and so much has happened with you guys too. My goodness. I think I'm busy, but you guys, I think, work circles around me. You've been writing, and I understand you just published your latest book. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow.
The Sasquatch Message to Humanity, Book 3.
Kelly's first book.
Oh, it's Kelly's first book. Well,
Yes.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank
It is
you.
such a huge undertaking, and it sounds so easy. I think I'll just go write a book, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people that said they've written 2 or 3 books, and as we've talked about them, I found out that none of them have been published.
Oh.
It's
Yeah,
not that easy.
That's a whole different ballgame, right?
Right.
Right.
And then marketing them as well and getting the word out to everyone is a whole nother thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Indeed it is. That's kind of where I was at, too. It's like, oh, finally, I'm so excited to finally get this book published. And now it's like, oh, dear, now my work really begins.
It's true. It's really, really true. So let's start, I think for people who are just kind of coming in, I'd like to kind of start maybe by whoever wants to go first, maybe tell about maybe we'll start with you, Kewaunee, about how you got into this whole, like, a dedication of your life really into informing people about a relationship with Sasquatch. And if we could maybe start with that, and then Kelly jump in anytime, and we can kind of weave the story of how the two of you met and the work that you come together to do that's so important.
Yes, well, 62 years ago, I started the research, and that was in the mid-1950s. And I was very precocious, a young man at the time. I contacted the zoology department at Rutgers University. I also sent letters out to Canada, different places, to investigate at that time. There wasn't really any information, very, very little. And I had read an article in the now defunct Stag magazine, which my father used to get. They had articles on hunting in Alaska and hunting in Africa. Way back then, that was to get trophy animals was a big deal. My dad was not a trophy hunter, but he liked to read about it. And one of the times they had an article on Sasquatch, and I read it and said, yeah, there are people. That's fantastic. I'm going to find out more about them. And I just, that's all I talked about. And so over the years, I traveled and all over the world, as a matter of fact. And I even went into the Himalayas and investigated the Yeti. I spent almost 3 weeks there in the Kingdom of Nepal investigating. I'd hike up into the Himalayas, into a Tibetan monastery, and had an interpreter and discussed the Yeti with the Tibetan monks at that time. As time went on,
Kewaunee, what did you find out? I mean, that's an amazing story in itself.
Well, I didn't have the equipment to go out in the field like I did here in America. But at that time, I went to the university. I spoke with a physical anthropologist there that had been following the Yeti stories, and he was looking for evidence as well. And as many people as I could that was interested or that would talk about it, I would interview. So it was an investigation and not a field trip. Mm-hmm. Later, I went back I had a degree in conservation. I went back and got a degree in psychology and anthropology. And for a short time, for a year, I taught anthropology at a New England college. Mm-hmm. But later, that was in Massachusetts. Later, I moved to Wisconsin from there. And when I did, I have 4 degrees. I applied to the University of Wisconsin and earned another degree, my master's there as well. So right after that, I just started to do field work all the time. And I was invited, I was working for Native American people, the First Nations people in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for urban Indians, and they invited me out to this property that one of the Native people had just purchased, and they wanted to discuss a blessing and so on, and so they had a Potawatomi medicine man there. So I was the only non-Indian that was invited, and I went out there with him, and then I started to wander around a little bit on the property and went to the edge of the woods, and then a voice started talking to me and said he was a Sasquatch, and he had been watching me for many years, longer than I know or understand. And every time I thought something and said, what is going on? Who is this person talking? I thought to myself, and then he'd say, as I said, I am the Sasquatch man, and I am here watching you. And he would repeat that. Mm-hmm. And I was, wow, I was stunned by this, and I wasn't afraid. It was just hard to believe. So I went ahead and quickly moved. I said, it's strange how people think, but I thought, well, if I move and walk over there, this is going to go away because it's not real, you know?
Yeah.
And so I walked over to a different place, and all of a sudden this very sophisticated voice came through and said, I am a star person, and I too have been watching you for many years, longer than you know or understand right now. And I looked around, and I didn't see anybody, and I thought to myself, I wonder where this person is that's talking to me. And he said, well, I'm just above you in another dimension, in a UFO, as you people call it. So this was a Bigfoot UFO connection.
Well, and if the first thing didn't grok your mind at the time, then the combination must have put you over.
It did. It stunned me. Again, I wasn't afraid. I was just in disbelief. And I said, well, of course, I'll never tell anyone. No one's going to believe me anyway. Of course, all that's in my first book that came out in 1998, and it's gone all over the world now, the Psychic Sasquatch and their UFO connection. So I thought, well, this is a one-time thing, and I'm not telling anyone. I don't want to make a fool of myself. And 2 nights later, I was sleeping, and I still remember 2:45 in the morning, a voice said to me, wake up, my friend, we are here. And I opened my eyes. I was facing the wall, and I thought, oh, my God, a burglar broke in. And when I rolled over, I expected a gun in my face. But there were 2 Sasquatch standing there, and I could see through them. They were living apparitions. And I thought, oh, my God, they're interdimensional. And, of course, as time went on, this was in September 1979. Since then, I've seen them dematerialize 3 times. They've touched me 9 times. I've seen them in the physical 9 times. And I've seen them several hundred times where I could see through them, see their energy.
Can you describe them for us, Kewaunee?
Yes. The thing is, each one is different. For almost 2 months, they came to me and woke me up at night. And one I hadn't seen in a long time, and he showed up 2 or 3 weeks later. And I said, oh, you're back. It's you again. You know, you could recognize faces because there are people. If you lined up 10 crocodiles, I could predict what they would do if you went swimming with any one of them. And they all, if you get them lined up and you glance at them, they all look the same kind of thing. Well, with people, if you line people up, they all look different. Some are more stocky, some are slender, some are tall, some are short, and so on. And you get some kind of a variety there, too, with the Sasquatch people. Now, people have said, well, you know, there's these beings are, I saw one and he looked human and I had a gun. So I didn't shoot him because his face looked human. Well, then the next person reports, has an encounter and says, geez, it looked just like an ape. It's a North American great ape or something. It had a face like a gorilla, but it walked on 2 legs. Well, wait a minute. Which is it? Are they human face or are they ape-like face? Which is it? Well, it's this. There's 2 separate races of people. One looks like has a sagittal crest or kind of a torpedo head with a gorilla-like face. Their arms go down to their knees, and they are Sasquatch people. Don't be fooled. No matter what they look like, they're more human and more evolved than we are. So if it scares you when you see one, don't be afraid because they're not going to do anything. So,
are they always furry like that? I know that's a simplistic question, but whenever I see it or think of an image, I think of them as being with a lot of fur.
No, they don't have fur. They have hair. They're people. They're human. They're humanoid. And then there's the ancient ones, which at a distance looks like a Sasquatch until you get up close. And then you realize it has a human face, that its head is round like ours, and it does not have a sagittal crest. It also, their arms are in proportion to their bodies, just like humans are. In other words, they do not go down to their knees. So these are two different races. There's also many different races of little people. There's also a race that look like werewolves, but they're not. They're actually quite friendly, but because they have their mouths open with their huge teeth and everything, they look vicious, but they don't hurt anyone. However, they do not tolerate humans if they are aggressive, and they'll scare you away right away. But they will not hurt you. One person in Indiana called me up and said one had attacked a woman, that the woman just told him how this werewolf type, which looks like some people call it the dog face people, attacked. I said, well, tell me how this being attacked, because I said I've never heard of them attacking anybody. So she heard on this farm at night, a woman did, all this commotion in the barn. So she went out with a flashlight and was walking to the barn, and she had a horse trailer there. And she was walking up to the horse trailer, and when she got to the other side of it, she literally bumped clean into, physically, one of these dog-faced people. And it startled him, so he pushed her, and she went against the horse trailer. In other words, she didn't slam her there. He just pushed her because she walked into him, right into the fur, everything. Fur or hair, I'm not sure what these beings have. But I said, well, when the attack place, that's it, that's the attack. I said, there's no attack. I says, you're an alarmist. I says, you're not reporting what actually happened. I said, you got your own emotions tied in it. I said, that is not an attack. They don't attack people. And they were just startled as she was. It appeared everything that he said. So these are some of the beings that are out there. And I've never interacted with the dog-faced ones, but I hope to, because there's a tribe here in eastern Washington, and I hope to meet them sometime soon.
Well, that's just an amazing story and so much information. And it seems like you were kind of awakened and then assimilated right over the years as to what you could handle or not handle.
Well, it's, certainly piecemeal, a little at a time every year. They spoon-fed me for a while, and then anything goes kind of thing. In other words, I was getting visitations. I saw 7 different ETs over the years that had visited me. So that's part of the Sasquatch Bigfoot phenomena is the ETs and ships and everything that they're occasionally on. Why? Because they're an evolved people. It's just like, when the Afro-American people during the time of slavery were put down all the time. It's just, that was the most ugliest part of American history as far as I'm concerned. And how these Europeans came over here with this attitude that everything's okay to have slaves. Well, when Darwin came with his theory of evolution, the Europeans said, "Oh, see, they come up with this." I consider it very vulgar, but this is what they were saying at the time in 1859 when Darwin's theory of evolution came out, and they said that the black people are supposed to be slaves because they're halfway between a human and a monkey. And they rationalize this just to continue to have slavery. So we've really not done any favors to a lot of people here. And the people are wondering why the Sasquatch won't have anything to do with us and that they're very selective who they want to be around. That's because They were there monitoring us, observing how we treated the First Nations people, how we treated the Afro-American people, how we treated the Chinese when they came over on the railroads. They treated them all like subhumans.
Right.
So,
and abomination, for sure.
Oh, it's awful. So now they're treating Sasquatch the same way. Oh, they're subhuman kind of beings, and hey, we'll do what we want. We need to shoot a few of them, so we'll have them. And this kind of really primitive thinking. I mean, I'm a social scientist, but yet I cannot follow and will not follow the scientific paradigm, which says we must prove it by getting a body. So there's so much of the scientific model that needs revamping, because it doesn't even include quantum physics. How so? Well, the Bigfoot phenomena really is emerging, the study really of anthropology and quantum physics combined, because they are interdimensional beings. They have access to numerous dimensions, and they use our dimension to exploit here and to live here part of the time. And I say exploit, to get food. And they love the earth, but they also can visit all these other dimensions. Just how they do it, I don't know. I do know that mainstream conservative researchers think what we're talking about is pure hooey. And they're so, I think the most naive people I've ever met that were educated is the mainstream Sasquatch researchers. There's a lot of nice people there, and everything, but they're highly critical of anything that had to do with psychic phenomena, UFOs, interdimensional stuff, telepathy, all the real things that are going on. How do I know? Well, they've been talking to me. They've contacted me over 1,000 times in the last 39 years out of the 62 years that I've been researching. Also, I have documented 423 people that have had telepathic contact, communication with the psychic Sasquatch. Plus 17% of them have saw a spaceship or just before or after the Sasquatch showed up on their property, or they had ETs with them, ETs walking through the woods with the Sasquatch people. So this is the reality. And yet mainstream science doesn't want to hear anything about, ETs and that kind of thing. Well, that means they're behind times. Their thinking is old world thinking. They need to modernize themselves and grow up, because they're not spiritually, they're not grown up enough, science, in order to deal with this Sasquatch phenomena. They don't know what they're doing. Most researchers really don't know what they're doing. Just watch the TV and finding Bigfoot and killing Bigfoot and this and that. They never find Bigfoot, and they just, their whole approach is purely, most of the time, violent and aggressive. And that's not who the Sasquatch are.
And would it be too that, like, our medical here, Western medicine's only a couple hundred years old, and so the Sasquatch have been, like you said, the ancient ones probably before any of our written history in some ways.
Yes, I mean, they've even done a lot of healing work, for us as friends, because they refer to us as family, Kelly and I. They've done healing work many times, different times. My back went out and I was in such pain I couldn't hardly function. All of a sudden, I asked them for help, and I wake up the next morning when I've been in pain for 6 weeks, and all of a sudden it's like nothing ever happened.
Well, you get to ask, right?
Right. And now our 7-year-old son, Jeremy, let's see, it's been probably a month now, walked into the kitchen when Kelly had just, I believe, boiled some water on the stove, and immediately she pointed to the stove and said, "Oh, stay away from the stove. That's hot," and pointed to the plate on the stove, which was a glass across the stove. Well, just to test her authority and to challenge her, he laid his hand right on it. And he went screaming through the house. This is a month ago. And there was some skin starting to come off his fingertips of a couple of fingers there that I noticed. And I was agonizing over this because I've never seen him screaming and in this much pain and all this stuff. It was just horrible to see. Well, anyhow, I quickly put aloe vera on it and all of this. And Kelly and I worked to soothe him and to mitigate the situation. So I quickly got a small Ziploc bag and put ice in it. We finally got him to sit down. He was walking in circles, screaming in the living room, and we sat him down, and it soothed that and quieted him down, the ice pack on it. And so finally, Kelly put antibiotic cream on it. She wrapped gauze around his entire hand, and finally it was bedtime. We sent him to bed. So I said to Kelly, well, we'll take him he won't be going to school in the morning. We'll take him to the doctor first thing. We don't want him to get infection. This is serious what happened, and he won't be going to school for a while. So she agreed, and we thought that was it. Now, every morning we have to wake him up for school to get him up no matter what. We always have to wake him up. Well, before I went to bed at night, I asked the Sasquatch people, I telepath to them because they're around us 24/7, and I asked them if they would heal my son, Jeremy, and because this is so serious. I mean, I had a burn that was not even half that, and it hurt for 10 days roughly, and it took almost 2 months for it to heal, even though I still have a scar there. But the very next morning, he woke us up, and I was still half asleep, and I heard Kelly say, "What are you doing up?" He says, "Well, I want to get ready for school." She says, "Well, you're not going to school. We're going to the doctor." And then she looked down and noticed he didn't have his bandage on. She says, "Wait a minute, where's your bandage?" And he said, "Oh, I took it off because it doesn't hurt. I want to go to school. Look, everything is fine." And he started to aggressively strike his fingertips because I rolled over and said, no, don't do that. And he was hitting them hard. And he said, "Look, Papa, it's all, I'm fine. I want to go to school." We couldn't believe it. It was literally a miracle. He was 85% healed, his fingertips the next morning. And to hit them like that, I was getting the creeps, but he had zero pain, he said, and we sent him to school. He didn't need a doctor.
That's an amazing story. And so they really are like family, like your star family, but can really engage not only in a third dimensional level, but can heal amazingly well. And it probably on with your relationship with him that you've had for over the years. And that's really, really a beautiful story. And can we bring you in, Kelly? And this is a mama perspective too, not only with the dad, and you met Kewaunee, and he's been in it for a while. And how did you acclimate to all of this? And not only did you acclimate, you're really taking an integral part of also making Sasquatch a real part of your life.
Yes, well, it was really, I like to say it was the Sasquatch that connected us because, it was just the right timing in our lives. And I had no idea that this is the path that I would be taking, but I've always been very sensitive to different realms besides this one. And so I certainly had an awareness that spirits were there, and that, and I was living in Arkansas, and I was having quite a few experiences out in the woods while hiking, and I knew it was the Sasquatch, but I couldn't quite understand it because I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. I could feel this enormous presence. I could feel this calming energy, and I could hear their footsteps behind me. And sometimes things would be, tossed in my direction so that I would see it, it didn't hit me or anything, but it was to get my attention. And it was coming from a place that, obviously there was no human or no animal that could do this. So I had a friend actually recommend Kewaunee's books to me. We started off having a Sasquatch discussion, and he said, "Oh, you need to get this guy's books," So it was pretty funny. I wrote Kewaunee's name down on a little piece of paper, just like maybe half of a Post-it note, and this little piece of paper kept popping up everywhere for a week or two. It would be on the couch or in the bottom of my purse or on the counter, just all these random places. And I was like, wait a second, I'm not moving that paper. And that's when it kind of hit me that, oh, okay, that's a sign that I need to go ahead and look up this guy. So I did, and I was just fascinated by looking at his website and coming to the understanding that they were interdimensional and that they're people, and the message behind all of it. And it just resonated so much with me. It just really pulled on my heartstrings, and I knew that I was a part of this. I felt even closer to the Sasquatch because of that. And I ordered Kewaunee's books so I could read them later. And when they arrived, I was so curious to peek at them myself, but I actually ordered them to give them as a gift to somebody. And that didn't work out because I was fascinated with them. So I started reading myself. And before I really even began his reading the book real closely, I saw his contact information was in the back of the book. And I found myself calling his phone number, without even thinking about it. I realized while the phone was ringing, I'm like, why did I call? Or did I even call? Or what am I going to say? That kind of stuff. And so he didn't answer. The answering machine picked up, and I started to leave him a message. I spoke for probably almost a whole minute into his machine. And then all of a sudden the phone was picked up, and I hear this voice say, hello. And it scared me so much I just hung up on him. And yeah, but thankfully he called me back. And so, he kind of, I guess you could say, interviewed me to just ask different questions to see where I was at. And so we built a rapport just in that first conversation, where he was kind of a mentor to me. It helped me to understand my own experiences and to put things into perspective that I was going through there in Arkansas. And then, once we spoke, then my communication with the Sasquatch just really, really took off. It was quite a few series of events actually happening all within the same time, all within the same week. I had some dreams that were not just dreams. I knew that they were real. Kewaunee was in one of these dreams, actually, the day before I even called him. I recognized his face from the back cover of the book in the dream. And then as time went on, I guess we probably spoke maybe once every 3 weeks, just for updates. And then after a couple months, and the Sasquatch communication was really picking up for me. They were teaching me many different shamanic practices, and just a lot going on with my whole spiritual awakening. And then I had another dream that was not a dream. It was actually a dream within a dream, but it involved Kewaunee, and the Sasquatch were in the dream too. And at the end, the elder told me, well, now you see that your music is magic and that you are both one, or something to that effect. And then they started telling us that we are soulmates. or that we should be together, or, that we have a higher purpose together, that we would work well together, that kind of thing. So not being, pressuring and saying, oh, well, you need to be with, you need to make this happen kind of thing, but just kind of planting that seed. And both of us were really in denial about it. We live 2,000 miles away from each other. We've never met, and we've never had that kind of discussion. As far as I knew, he was just a mentor or a teacher kind of figure. And I was like, this, just our circumstances absolutely did not match in any way. So how could this be what the Sasquatch are telling us? But as time went on, especially Kewaunee is in contact with many different contactees, people all over the world that are in communication with the Sasquatch. And then they started to call him and tell him, hey, my Sasquatch guide told me to give you this message. So people from Canada and all over the U.S., different people giving him the same basic kind of message, and then he was getting them from the Sasquatch as well. That was all the same kind of message, that you two have a higher purpose together, you're soulmates, you just kind of, why don't you see where this goes? And so we decided, well, okay, let's start talking on a more personal level, just start asking some personal kind of questions, and see where it goes from there. And so over the next, 8-9 months, we spoke on the phone pretty much, I think, every day, and got to know each other better. And neither one of us would admit it at that time because we hadn't met, but we were pretty much, already in love without having ever have met on the phone, just through the phone. And then 10 months after we first spoke is when he flew down to Arkansas to meet me. And so we knew immediately that it was, love at first sight. It was definitely meant to be, kind of thing. And so that's where it went from there. But the communication from the Sasquatch continued, where we knew we both belonged where we're at right now in Northeast Washington. They wanted us, or basically our energy resonates with this area. So this is where they guided us to move to. And so, it's really kind of taken off from there. And since we've done this, since we've moved here, we've connected with many more Sasquatch people and many other contactees, people in the community and people all over the world. And then I also connected with Sunbow through Facebook. When I just came across, actually that was, I'm sure, guided by the elders once again. I came across a post that Sunbow had written, which was a channeled message from the Sasquatch. It was actually the 7th chapter of the first book, and that's all he had written thus far, was up to 7 chapters, and I had happened to catch it when he wrote the 7th one. And he was just publishing them on Facebook. They weren't in a book yet. But I just knew immediately, okay, well, this was meant to be. We were meant to connect, with this ally and to move forward with it. And so we published that book, and the Sasquatch Message to Humanity. And then Sunbow wrote the 2nd book, which we published. And now I was instructed, as well as others, to contribute for the 3rd book, which was just published this last week. So there's actually 10 different authors of that, including myself, Kewaunee, Sunbow, and then 7 other people, 2 of them Australians, and the rest spread throughout the United States. And
congratulations! Congratulations!
Yes, thank you.
It's huge. It's huge.
And besides those books as well, once we moved here, the Sasquatch urged us to begin our conference and retreat that we're doing. We had no intentions of doing anything like that, and it all just kind of fell into our lap. We had a friend call with the inspiration, who also once again said, hey, my guides are saying I should call you and help get this started. So he gave me all the information, just kind of how to begin to have your own event. And I said, well, okay, let's go with it. Because the Sasquatch helped us choose the date and the location and everything. I shouldn't even say helped. It was there. It was there. It was available, and it was meant to be. So, so now this is our third year of this retreat, and it keeps, growing and getting better each year. We have presentations where people share their personal experiences or their teachings, from the Sasquatch. And then we'll also have several different workshops that cover all kinds of different subjects, multidimensionality, meditation, telepathy, even like sound bathing, just many different subjects that will be there.
And that's coming up August 31st through September 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, here in Chewelah, Washington.
Washington.
Yes. And all the information on that is on our website as well at psychicsasquatch.com as well as sasquatchpeople.com.
Oh, sasquatchpeople.com. Okay, and they can check it out, and they don't have to have any information, or they don't have to have taken classes or read books. All they have to bring with them is an open mind and a desire to learn and participate and maybe make some long-time friends.
Oh, definitely. It's a phenomenal experience. You certainly don't have to be experienced or have any kind of, stories to share. It's just for people who genuinely want to learn and connect with them on that level. A lot of it is different earth teachings, connecting with the elements of nature, different things of that kind. But it is like a big family reunion when we get there. So, I knew a lot of the people like through Facebook, but had never met them. But the energy when we all get together, it's just so incredible. Everybody's walking around hugging and smiling. You can't wipe the smile off your face if you try to. And it's just so enlightening and great experiences too. So not only are you, connecting with others and educating yourself, but a lot of people have had some pretty interesting encounters. Many of them, their first encounters, either sights or sounds, or the feeling of them. Some people have received healing during that time. There's been several spaceships that can be seen. It's out in the wilderness, so you get a pretty good view of the sky there. And so there's ships above us, and not to mention hundreds of thousands of orbs. You should see all the photos that were taken last year. They're quite remarkable. I've never seen so many orbs and so many photographs before. So, so that all of that is there for those who want to have an experience. But of course, it's all within your heart. It's not guaranteed. But if that would be the place to have an experience, if you're going to have an experience, because everybody's really in alignment. And the Sasquatch actually said that when we get together in this kind of way, that it's opening a portal and building a bridge from our realm to theirs. So when we do get together with that kind of intention, it's almost as if we are raising our vibration to the next highest dimension so that we can meet them more easily.
Mm-hmm. And with this, I love your website, the psychicsasquatch.com. They can also reach you on Facebook as well.
Yes.
And what is your Facebook? I know I talked to you on it, but is it Kelly Lapseritis, or do you
yes.
have? Mm-hmm.
Yes, I manage several different pages and groups, but my main profile, what I'm active on is just Kelly Lapseritis. And I'm probably the only one, I think, so it shouldn't be too hard to find me on there. But I do manage other pages, the Sasquatch Message to Humanity book series page, also a page called Sasquatch People, also a page for the conference, which is the Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat. And then there's some groups, like Wisdom from Our Elders. That's the first group that I started. And I think there's over 6,000 people in there now. So there's a lot of people to communicate with there, as well as a group called Sasquatch Shamanism. And I have a, if I can recall the name of it, it's Psychic Sasquatch. I can't remember exactly. It's Sasquatch Social and Ride Share Group. But the intention behind that group was to, for participants of our retreat to get to know each other and to, help find rides and things out here. So, but anybody is welcome to join that too. Good information in those groups. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And where they get their tickets. My host today would like to know if you have your tickets at for the Psychic Sasquatch Retreat and Conference. How much are the donations for the weekend?
It is
to attend.
Yes, it's $150 per person for the whole 3-day weekend. So that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For the whole weekend, which includes all of the free workshops and presentations, as well as either indoor or outdoor camping. You could either, bring a tent or a hammock or something and sleep outside, or they have dorm bunks there that you can also stay in. So that's included in the price. And we're selling tickets through Eventbrite. So if you go onto Eventbrite, which is VENTBRITE. You could search for the 2018 Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat. Or if you look on our websites, especially the psychicsasquatch.com, there's a tab at the top for events, and it'll link you to the Eventbrite page.
Fantastic. So you and Kewaunee are like catalyst for connecting people, it sounds like, and you're really building this really beautiful, solid, extended Sasquatch community.
Yes, I'm able and gifted enough to tell people on maps where to go to find the right clan or the right group of Sasquatch that are interested in communicating with that particular person. So I teach people telepathy and how to approach them, how to think, and so on. And I do this all the time, those that are ready, for this. Okay. So yes, we've telling people that the public that there are a people, and certainly not animals or monsters. The only monsters I know are those out there with guns that are trying to kill them.
Mm-hmm. So when we come back from the break, then we could talk about how we can ourselves awaken to our souls and recover our wisdom and our, and have a process with the Sasquatch people. And so I like what you just said about connecting people with their own tribe of Sasquatch. And so if I'm a listener, how we would just see you, what do you look at? What is that process like? Do you have to have the desire to want to have a connection, and then you can kind of look at them, or do you psychically look at them, or the information just comes? How does it happen?
Yeah, people contact me, and I find out who they are, what they want from the Sasquatch, and so on. And the Sasquatch aren't interested in curiosity seekers or people that are going to try to trick them or whatever. Those people will never have any experience. But some people are ready for that experience, and once again, I teach them how to think, where to go, what to do, and in order to make it a success.
Wow.
Because the Sasquatch want to connect with more and more people. Again, some ask, well, why aren't they connecting with the mainstream researchers? Because mainstream researchers are filled with fear. Many of them carry guns and stuff, and they're fearful. That's one of the things that will keep a Sasquatch at bay, is people out there being fearful of them, or carrying guns, or trying to exploit them with cameras. They don't like that either.
So if you have an open heart and it's in the right place, and you want to strengthen or even begin or have a desire to have some relationship or explore it with the Sasquatch, it seems like you two are it, the connectors of the next step, whatever those steps may be, baby steps, or they could be hugely transformative as well, all in a second.
Yes, there's people can contact me, and I can help them in this. Simply go to SasquatchPeople@hotmail.com. It's a hot subject, so Hotmail. So SasquatchPeople@hotmail.com, and if they're trying to connect and so forth, and I can help them.
That would be wonderful. Well, we're just almost to a break. It should be any second here, I think. And when we get back, if any information that you're getting, a feeling that you'd like for our listeners to hear, like what are some of the main messages or the core messages of Sasquatch for mankind and for womankind, and for where we are right now as a species on this planet. And there are like our elder brothers, from my understanding.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
What is their direction? How do you see them steering us forward to the future and helping us? Because we need a lot of help here, right?
Indeed, yes.
In breaking news, a visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a fifth-dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge,
connect with them on a
Saturdays,
level, but
3 p.m.
really
Eastern Standard Time in Studio A. For the latest breaking news on the Star Visitors' peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing
not having negative emotions like fear,
Who are you?
anger, and
I
doubt,
am the
and,
architect.
things like that, which
I
is
created
all
the
much
Matrix.
easier said than done.
I've been waiting for
human,
you.
And that's
Why am I
what
here?
we do. So,
You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably
who we are,
here.
we've always been.
You haven't answered my question. The Matrix is older than you know, as you are undoubtedly gathering the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation. Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lassard.
We'll be right back after the break.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
Your body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting the danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution. Radio.
Hello, this is Maggie Rose McGrath of The Concord Show.
And co-host Marine Corps Map, coming to you on Monday and Tuesdays in Studio A, noon to 2 Eastern.
And Studio B on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern, with educational, instructional, information, and situational updates, often with wonderful guests on the current landscape in the U.S. and overseas.
This is a go.
We are with you, side to side, and back to back.
Please join us on Monday through Wednesdays.
As well as other hosts and guests here on Revolution Radio.
We're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello and welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and I have with me Linda Kluke, and we're at Contact in the Desert at Indian Wells, having a great time, and welcome back, Kelly and Kewaunee. And we've been talking about Sasquatch, all things Sasquatch. And Linda had a great question for you about the lemur that was found and its connection possibly to human Sasquatch original, where they come
origins.
from, or their original origins. Can you speak on that question? Does that sound something interesting to you?
Yes. Actually, in the first Sasquatch Message to Humanity book, the elder named Camus talks about that, about their origins and things, and says that the Sasquatch people here were created for Earth. Their souls come from different places, but the way that the star elders that are like geneticists, the creators, do things is that they have to use a native species of whatever planet it is, and then, combine that with the DNA from other. So the Sasquatch explained that they are partly created from the giant lemur that was in Lemuria. So part of their earthly DNA comes from the giant lemur that was in Lemuria. And then it also mentions some star origins DNA, which is, it's kind of hard to say. It's mostly Pleiadian, but there was a long evolution before the Pleiadians too. So there's different aspects of different star races in them too. And then they said also part from the Great Bear. And so I believe that's another constellation that they must come from, unless they mean a great bear animal. But the way that I understood it, it was, from a place cosmically rather than an animal. But they said that they were created and seeded here on Earth about 200 million years ago. So they've been here a lot longer than we have.
So were they the original Lemurians then?
Yes. Well, there were other beings in Lemuria, but the Sasquatch people were the first mammal people that were there, the first mammal people on Earth. Because when Earth was originally created, it was almost all water. It couldn't sustain a whole lot of, land life. So the first beings that were here on the planet were the mer people, or the fish people. Eventually that evolved into the ant people, or the insect people, and then the lizard people, or the reptilian people. Then it was the bird people, and then it was the mammal people, and the Sasquatch were the first mammal people, and so these humans are a continuation of that race. So when they say that they're our elder brothers, they literally mean that they are our elder brothers. We share almost entirely all of their DNA, more than 99% of the same DNA. So humans and Sasquatch, or ancient ones, which is kind of a hybrid race between Sasquatch and humans. Well, they were the step above humans, basically, in between. But there's several different races of these giant hairy beings as well. But so the humans are the most newest mammal humanoid race here on the Earth. And so that's, also because of their experience here. They have very long lives too, unlike humans do nowadays anyway. So they're able to, retain all of these memories, and they never lost their connection with the star elders as humans did. So they didn't lose their psychic gifts as we did. And so they're here to especially help teach us, or remind us, I should say, of who we are and what we're capable of, all of the abilities that we still possess, so that we can transform ourselves to be the humans that we're meant to be caretakers of the Earth, like they are. The Sasquatch were created to be caretakers of the Earth, and then humans came along, and we did a really poor job of that. But people are beginning to wake up more now. A lot of people are just more into thinking ecologically and, all of these things. So it really does help shift and change things as our collective consciousness is changing to be more kind and respectful to all life. It's not just other humans, it's not just animals, it's not just plant life, but all of the earth, all of the elements. We destroy the air, and we take advantage of fire even, and, do different things like that. And that's not the way it should be. We should be working in cooperation with all of the elements and the earth and the animals and everything.
And so do you think part of their work is to remind us really of how amazing we are, and that we've forgotten or been controlled or dumbed down, so that there's only a part of us that's human, that's expressing, instead of our capabilities. And it seems like part of their work might be that, is reminding you that we are interdimensional and that we do need to build that relationship. So
yes, exactly. And the way to do that is through the heart center, through the heart space, and by going in internally, seeking that higher wisdom that's within us all. Connecting with the source that we're all connected to, which, people call creator or God, or, lots of different names for it. But it's basically, it's an energy rather than a deity or some kind of entity that's, bigger and better than all of us. It's an energetic source that we're all created, or that we're all connected to.
So we don't have to bow down to them?
No, actually, they say that specifically. Do not worship us. Do not pray to us. We are your brothers. So while it's good to go to them, like once you have an established relationship with them, you can ask for advice or for higher wisdom and everything. But it doesn't necessarily come directly from them. They influence you. They influence your consciousness so that you come to that conclusion on your own, so that you feel it within your heart, and realize that for yourself. So it's not like they tell you what to do. You need to do this. It's a very subtle, loving energy. And sometimes it's not so subtle. Sometimes it's pretty intense, but it's still wonderful. But there's been a few occasions where I feel them so strongly, especially I've had a few people tell me this when they're just down and out, hit rock bottom in life, whatever it might be, with a relationship or a job or just, drugs, even anything like that, where somebody has gotten to the most stressed out point in their life. And then they turn and ask for advice or ask for guidance, or just, grateful for the elders for being there for them. And I've felt this, and several others have told me that they have felt this, it's hard to put into words, this burst of love energy that is just so intense. It just, you get goose pimples and it just shakes your whole body. You're either like extremely hot or extremely cold. For me, it's like intense shaking that I can't stop shaking, a nervous kind of reaction. And it might feel a little strange to the physical body, but at the same time, the emotion and that feeling of such strong love like you've never felt before is so overwhelming that it's just really so amazing, and it's healing in itself, just to feel that.
Well, you can feel when we go on your website, and that you can feel the heart connection there, and you have some beautiful images of Sasquatch there. I was looking at psychicsasquatch.com, and you just have some beautiful quotes and poetry, and talking about the relationship of Sasquatch, the elder brother, and that our consciousness and our relationship as spiritual beings, again, we've just kind of forgotten it. And so part of the work is to wake us up and kind of show us the way, show us the door, but we have to do the work, right?
Exactly.
Yes, here we're focused on communication, which is the most important thing. In planet Earth, we've got all kinds of problems because we can't communicate with each other, with other countries, and always some kind of a faux pas or something going on. But so we're more interested in the communication with them, what they have to offer, all of these things, which to me is the most important, since the planet is dying, and they are the spiritual keepers of Mother Earth. But it's interesting because the mainstream researchers, all the ones that are, people have seen their names and books out and everything, all they talk about is tracks and hair. They don't ever go beyond that all this time. So I feel kind of sad and kind of sorry for them that they're stuck in their own minds. This is the direction they feel they need to go. Good luck to them and everything. I get along with most of them, but I'm just saying that their focus is totally different. It's all material stuff. They're heavy into getting proof and so on. And the only proof they'll get is if the Sasquatch decides to give them the proof.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even about 10 years ago, I said, maybe one of your elders, one of your elderly ones, Sasquatch, or your very young ones, if a tooth fell out, give me the tooth, and I'll have it analyzed, and the DNA from that will absolutely prove that you're human, and so we can stop this violence towards them. And they didn't say yes or no. The answer was something like this, and I'll paraphrase. Little brother, I know that you are trying to help, but we know that you have an open heart, and where the others do not, they have a different focus. But this is not the direction we wish to go in right now. So this conversation has ended. So they were being polite and everything. But however, they didn't want to waste time going through all that, since, I thought it was a brilliant idea. You know what I mean? Nobody has to get hurt, kind of
right.
thing. And, but they have their own way of thinking, and which is very different than ours. So out of respect, I just dropped it, never brought it up again, because it was just a passing thought, and wanting to help.
Yeah, it would make perfect sense, logical sense, right? But I guess they're more on a heart path, right?
Yes, this is really, the research is research of the heart, with the heart, and not of the mind and the intellect. And I say that because, again, I've watched 99% of the researchers are stuck with this getting proof. And how do you get proof from an interdimensional being? Unless they want to give that proof.
Yeah, and experience, right? You can talk all you want to talk and naysay whatever, but if you have an experience, then everything changes.
Everything changes.
It does.
You don't.
And I, with your conferences, they can expect something of that nature, correct? You can't guarantee it, but it's all set up for it.
Right. It's nothing's guaranteed, but and they also say not to have real high expectations. People will leave food out for them and things, and then real surprised when they don't take it. But it's don't expect anything. They may not like that food, or they might think it might leave it there for their dear friends that are going to come by later or something like that. But yes, at our conference, at our gathering, that is a very likely place that something will happen, especially, and it's really all determined by you and your heart, and if you're ready for that experience as well. A lot of times people will have a really very subtle experience, and that's just to kind of wake them up without shocking them. Some people have been lucky enough to actually have a sighting, from a distance, see a Sasquatch, and that changes their whole world and perception. Just all of a sudden, they're obsessed with wanting to learn as much about the Sasquatch as they can, and just having that one second sight of one might be enough to trigger the rest of their life. Basically, it might be enough to set them on their spiritual path just from that one sight of them, or or to start investigating and researching, or to find that way. But like you said, with experience, that makes all the difference. You could read all the books you want, but until you experience it yourself, there's been a few mainstream researchers that we know that were all, very much against the quote unquote woo-woo side of things. And then all of a sudden they had telepathic communication, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I know exactly what you're talking about now. And all of that. So,
as serious as they are when they speak with you, there's this other side of them that's very childlike in many ways, and it helps them to flow, apparently. But they've joked with us many times, and so on, and even my second book, The Sasquatch People and Their Interdimensional Connection, I hired an editor to go through my book and so forth, and to get it in top shape before publication. And at the time, this was in 2011, the editor there in Seattle said, "Can I come out?" At the time, I was living in a cabin in the foothills of the Washington Cascades on a dead-end area where there was a portal right there, and the Sasquatch were in and out of my cabin all the time. Now, she wanted to experience this, and I said, well, you can come and camp out here, and you could use my facilities and, cook food, whatever. She wanted to come for 3 days to see if she could connect. So I told her every night I go for walks, kind of speed walking on the different dirt roads there at the time. So she said, well, I'll walk with you. Well, I have a habit, it's a part of my personality, that when I was teaching anthropology at a New England college, I would explain things, then I'd go into a storytelling mode in order to clarify my statement, my previous statement. So I do this quite frequently. And so my editor we were walking along, and we were in the woods, this is quite wild area. And we were talking, and I was explaining something to her and telling her a story in order to make my point. And in the middle of the story, 2 Sasquatch came up behind us right there in the daytime and everything. However, they were in another dimension. But I knew that because I know when they're close to me or around or whatever, and my whole body started vibrating, and I stopped. We were walking real fast, and I stopped. And she looked at me, and I said, do you feel them now? Do you feel them? And she said, well, no, I don't feel anything. I said, really? I said, there's 2 of them right here about 6-7 feet from us, and my whole body's vibrating. You can't feel that? Don't you feel? And I was trying to get it so she'd have an experience. And in the middle of all this, one of the Sasquatch said to me, never mind us, finish the story. Because they follow us and protect us, and they get, I think, a little bored once in a while. And if you're telling stories or something, they want to get in on it and, listen in. And it's kind of a break for them. So anyway, they come out with some doozies sometimes, and yet how serious they are. One woman in Colorado, I was helping her to connect. They were on her property. And she asked one of them, what their name was, and she introduced herself, and they told her, but these were juveniles. So she says, do you want anything, any food or anything that I can get you? And the juvenile said, yeah, a block of salt. And she said, oh, I didn't know Sasquatch likes salt. And the juvenile said, no, silly. The salt is for the deer. Now, they listen in so they can colloquialize a lot of our speech because they listen in, and so they blend it right with their own talk. They have their own language, incidentally, and I've heard them speak it twice, and it's very, very strange and guttural. But when they speak to humans, it's all telepathy.
Well, and I know we only have a few minutes left, but what would be your best advice to someone who wanted to connect? And would it be to be in nature is the best, or do they have to be? Can they just be connected if they're in meditation and ask for connection?
Well, it helps, to fast. This is what they ask, to fast for 4 days and then go out into an area and especially if you're camping by yourself. And I would sit and read some kind of spiritual literature or something that's very low-keyed, and then meditate. But also, if you're angry or if you're going through stuff, let go of that, because that will interfere with any communication. But I can help people if they want to connect with me at SasquatchPeople@hotmail.com, and I can help people more specifically, and especially in their areas.
Well, I'm going to send you a hot mail for sure. Thank you.
And I just wanted to add to that too, that people that are practiced in meditation, that's certainly a way to connect with them, and it's not necessary to have to go out to their area or the woods or something like that to connect with the local clan. It's certainly possible, and that helps, but more so what it is about nature is that you're connecting with all of life.
That's true, and that's just lovely. And so,
yes, and if you speak to one of them, there's all these others listening. It's really interesting because they emphasize the interconnectedness, that we're all connected to each other, and science has already proven that. This physics has proven, astrophysics, that we're all interconnected. And there's a whole process there that has come out. And it's interesting because that's what the Sasquatch has been saying to me for 39 years, which, of course, the First Nations people, the Native Americans, those that are on the spiritual path and following their own tradition know that that is the case, that we're all interconnected. So some of what the Sasquatch are saying is very similar to Native American tradition.
And where we go together. Yeah.
Yes. And once again, people can get more information if they go to www.psychicsasquatch.com and sasquatchpeople.com to order any books that we have and for more information.
Great. And where can they get their tickets again? And that's your Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat, your third annual, August 31st to September 2nd in Chewelah, Washington. I hope I said that right.
Yes.
And where can they go to get tickets? They can go to the psychicsasquatch.com, but you did say a link too.
For events.
Yes.
It says events.
It is, yes, so it's on psychicsasquatch.com under events, and I believe I put it on the homepage as well, towards the bottom.
But I just scrolled down and just found it. It's a beautiful image.
Yeah. Oh, great, good. Yes, so if you click on that, that should take you straight to the Eventbrite page, but there is a direct address too. It's, if anybody's writing it down, https:// so there's no www with this one, and it's 2018 Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat .eventbrite.com, and Eventbrite is BRITE.
Fantastic. And you're going to have workshops and presentations and ceremonies and raffles. I'm reading it, and benders and crystal skulls, and we didn't even talk about that, and spiritual items and singing and dancing and hiking trails and meditations and drum circles and camping, and it's just indoor, outdoor, showers, hot meals, music, and it's hosted by Kewaunee and Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks. It's an honor to be on again.
Yes, thank you for having us.
With my pleasure. I'm thinking I'm going to try and make it this year. I was out last year, but this year I'm putting it penciled in my calendar. So I'd love to come and be a part of all of that. It just sounds grounding and uplifting all at the same time.
And mind bending.
Yes. Yes. Stop trying to come. Just make a commitment to do it, and your life will change.
Okay, I'm there. How's that?
Great. Well, we can't wait to meet you then.
I know, the same here. We've been doing this a couple times, and I've been following your work, and so, and I'm a groupie, so it's an honor to have had you both on, and it's been a pleasure having Linda drop by at Contact in the Desert this evening. We are making it a little bit short, as I'm doing a Cosmic Cafe here at 7 o'clock, so with having people come and tell their extraordinary stories. So, yeah, and you're going to be doing that as a part of your work there, too, is where you have a place where people can come and tell their stories of Sasquatch connection.
Yes. Well, enjoy your time there then.
Thank you. Thank you both so much, and look forward to seeing you on August 31st.
Excellent.
Yes. Hey,
Thank you.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. The usual time, Friday, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. That's East Coast time. So, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, LA time. So thanks, everyone. And remember to give generously to freedomslips.com and Revolution Radio. Have an amazing weekend and week, and look out for opening up and connecting with our Sasquatch elders. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at buyer risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution. Radio.
around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country was founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to the banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Who? Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said.